I think the pressures have changed significantly since I started running 5 years ago. Back in 7th grade, everything was a lot easier academically. There was not as much homework. The workload was much lighter. I was taking honors classes because I've always held myself to high standards, but the workload was like a worksheet a night, projects, only a couple of them though, and they were coloring and poster board. It wasn't anything serious or you had to do extensive research on it. Athletically, I was moved up to varsity my 7th grade year, and all I had to focus on was the girl in front of me who was beating me in races. That's the only thing I had to care about. I didn't know who I was running next to. I didn't know who was in races, who were competing. I didn't know strategies for running it. I didn't know PRs, what was good, what was bad, my form, I didn't even know what running shoes to wear. Now, as I'm a junior, I have the pressure of AP classes and honors classes. Everything's very time consuming, very study oriented, and it's a lot of work that I have to do every day. And I'm only human, and I find it very stressful. So I think as years progress, there's more pressure added on to the sport.
First thing that we tell our athletes at the beginning of preseason, before we even talk about running, is the academic standards of trying to maintain that team average and doing good work academically. Not good work, great work, because they're not going to be professional runners when they graduate. They're going to be professional in something else. So we expect them to be high-achieving students.
Even though being a student athlete is really hard, I still continue it because I like the challenge and I like to hold myself to really high standards. I've always done that ever since I was little. I've always wanted the best grades and to be the best athlete I could be. I don't think I would be able to just do one because I'm too used to it now. I would be bored. I feel like I'd be less motivated because I feel like with being a student athlete, there's some type of like little extra motivation because I have to do well in my classes to be able to compete, and then I want to compete well.
Motivation. They're motivated. All student athletes here, but especially in our sport, have to be motivated intrinsically because, quite honestly, it's track and cross country. We don't have big crowds. It's not that nobody cares, but again, we're not on TV, and they have to be self-driven. We as coaches try to motivate them, but their motivation has to come from within, in all aspects of their lives.
Sometimes when a big race is coming up, like when Nationals comes up, States comes up, Milrose comes up, that's the only thing I can think about. That's the only thing I'm focusing on. I'm not really concerned about what I'm doing in school. I'll think about it in classes throughout the day. When the big races are coming up, I'm focused on like, oh, what is this girl doing? Oh, what is my times? What is her times? I often think throughout the day, oh, what are my competitors doing? I wonder what they're doing right now. Like, I feel like my whole life is so surrounded by track. It's hard to even focus on school because I'm so involved with it. It just comes into every day.
There's a lot more distractions, and it causes a lot more anxiety and stress for them because they're constantly in a state of distraction. I definitely believe that is the primary driver of anxiety for them, and they're high achieving young men and women, and they want to do a lot of things away from running, and it just creates a lot of anxiety and stress in them. But I would say the big difference now is the sheer number of distractions that they have that your generation has, and you just have to find a way to balance it all.
This one time I was running a big race. It was New Balance Nationals outdoors. It was in North Carolina, and I was running the steeplechase, and I was one of the contenders to do really good and earn All-American status. And so I was just really looking forward to it. I was so excited. I was relaxed. I was ready for this race. And I start running the race, and for the first time in a long time, I could actually hear the music playing. That was playing as we were running. And actually, 3 laps in, I started laughing. And like lip syncing the words because I was just so stress free. I felt so good. I was doing really well. I hit the runner's high, as they call it. And I just think that that was one of my best races I've had in a long time. And it's really what makes me like love running so much, because runs like those just make everything else, all the pain, all the hard work, all the time invested, so worth it. I found a lot of support from my friends, because when I'm freaking out about a race, they'll help me. When I have a bad race, I know that they're right there, and they don't care how I do. At the end of the day, they're still just my friends, and I find a lot of support from that, and I find a lot of security from that. Another support system I have is actually my dogs. I find a lot of support from them because they know nothing about running, so they don't care at all if I do good, if I do bad, if I just do mediocre. They couldn't care less. All they care about is me petting them, and they're just always happy to see me, and that always puts me in a great mood, and I'm always happy to see them, and especially when they come to my meets. That always makes me really happy, because they'll go to cross-country meets or outdoor track meets, because you can have dogs around, and actually sometimes when I see them while I'm running, I'll speed up because I'll just get happy because I just love them.
I have a student athlete who's graduating in a few weeks, and he's going on to a PhD program in pharmacology. And this past winter, he missed numerous meets because he was going on interviews for graduate school. Went on a conference a few weeks ago, missed a meet. I feel badly for the student athlete for missing out on some really good running opportunities, but I'm completely supportive of their pursuits, because again, their future is in that and not in running. They can always run, but going for that PhD or master's program or taking an entrance exam is far more important than just one simple meet.
I think that other student athletes would easily agree with me. I think we're all kind of in the same boat, that we would put our sport over academics every time. I mean, we do by signing up for sports. We're avidly agreeing to when we have to be pulled out of school to go to a competition. We're doing that when we have to take time away from staying home and working on our grades and like working on the homework that we have to go to practice. We're doing this, and I think that everyone would agree that it's a hard struggle, but I mean, the answer is clear. We want to do good in our sports just as much as we want to do good in school. And so we spend so much time at school, we feel that's necessary that, like, of course I can't speak for them, but like, I can miss some school time to go and run and focus on that, something I'm also passionate about. Sometimes I don't even find any joy in it at times, because there's so much pressure on it, and there's so much riding on like one race, and you have to go through like the race, and it's always hard. You always have to push yourself to your limits, and it always hurts, and it's for a long time, especially because we're distance runners, and it just gets so stressful and sometimes so overwhelming. I'm like, is it even worth it? Like, is it even worth it to run? Do I even really like this sport, or do I just like the attention it brings me? And sometimes I really question it, but then I'm reminded the next time I go on like a nice long run, and it just allows me time to think and allows me to just be free and have like my mind wander, and it's really therapeutic. And then hitting a runner's high is like the best thing ever. It's what I love about the sport, like the best thing. of course, I love hanging out with my friends and then running with my friends and then the memories and then putting in the hard work and devoting myself to something, and especially like with a team where it's greater than myself. But um, the runner's high is just like where you're running a race and like you just feel amazing, and then you finish it and you have a good time and you're just really on like top of the world because you're like so proud of yourself. And that really reminds me why I love running.